mind about that Prescott today.
What happened?
They turned down a huge contract, like
Oh,
$35
sure.
million, wants $45 million or something. He wants like crazy money.
I'm not a Cowboy fan. I'm not either. I'm a Texans fan. So
I'm not a Texans fan either. Yeah.
So I've been sleeping. I've been trying to...
I mean, I'm kind of a Cowboy. Kind of. I hated them growing up. I've kind of gotten where...
Yeah.
But college football fan. So.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
So do not disturb. So
apparently he turned down a huge contract and he's going out.
$35 million a year ain't bad.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. On that, let's see. You already signed it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll get you a copy of it before you leave.
Make sure my watch is on.
Today is May the 21st, 2020. It's about 9 minutes after 5 p.m. Meeting to discuss IA case 20-02. I'm sorry, 20-02, yes. And allegations made against you. And here to discuss that and interview you about it.
Okay.
And for the purpose of the recording, we'll introduce ourselves. My name is Chris Noble with the Elgin Police Department.
My name is Jaboris Dickerson. I'm an officer with the Elgin Police Department.
I'm Tiger Hannon, officer. I am attorney representing Officer Dickerson.
Okay. And what we're here to discuss is the content of a conversation that was had on the morning of May the 13th, last Wednesday, and while you were at Jalisco restaurant.
Yes, sir.
And then actions subsequent after that. If you would, just walk me through
From
how...
start to finish?
I'm sorry?
Start to finish?
Start to finish. But I would like you to start with what it was how you ultimately got there.
Okay.
Was there, starting with any messages or anything that you'd gotten like the week before?
Okay, so that prior weekend was our long weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It was Sunday when we got off work. I went to HEB here in Elgin to do some shopping before I got home. And I got a text message from Sergeant Gerloff.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't heard from Sergeant Gerloff since
Right.
So I thought it was a little strange. So I read the message and I saw what it said. I texted Wooten and I was like, hey, did you get this? He said, yeah. So I was like, shit, So I called Sergeant Wong. I let him know what I had received because I had talked to Sergeant Gerloff since October.
Okay, and this was while you were at HEB?
This was while I was at HEB here in Elgin.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We were off duty already. We had just went 42.
Okay.
So I called Sergeant Wall and I let him know what the message said, and I read it to him
Mm-hmm.
before I walked into HEB. And I asked him, like, hey, what do I do about this, or what should I do about this? He said, I don't think it's a bad idea to have a morale boost for the police department.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the end of our conversation. So we get off the phone. I didn't text her off back because I was still unsure about his text message, because in my mind I was already battling with, I already got my stuff going on as far as October. I don't care about this. So we come to work that Wednesday. Officer Wooten was like, hey, Sergeant Gerloff's getting off work. He's coming through town. He wants to have breakfast. I was like, cool. So he invites me and Officer Marco to breakfast, and we go to Jalisco's.
Okay.
While we're at Jalisco's, we're doing a bunch of catching up. He's telling us about his job and who he works for. That's how we initially started the conversation. Some billionaire jewelry lady. Then we started talking about how he's going to do a contract possibly overseas for a few months. And then we got into a small brief conversation about what the survey is ultimately trying to achieve. Okay. Because our concerns at the table were, well, what are you trying to get out of this? Mm-hmm. And once he told us, we were like, oh, okay, cool. So our attention just kind of went from there to here to there to here as far as we were talking about my ordeal, not my court, also a crap ton of weight. Mm-hmm. So we were talking about if he did any surgeries or anything like that, and that was pretty much the gist of the conversation as far as what we talked about.
Okay.
And how I got to Jalisco's.
Okay. Let's go back when you got that text message and you called Sergeant Wall. Mm-hmm. And so what did he say again to you?
He said that he he thinks it'd be a good idea for a morale survey to happen at the police department just to see where we were as a department as far as everyone's like, hey, how can we improve this? How can we improve that? Things of that nature. So when we had that phone conversation at HEB, like I said, I didn't text Sergeant Gerloff back because I was like, nah, I already got this going on. So I was like,
Okay. And what day was that again?
I got that text message Sunday after we got off work when I was at HEB here in Elvin.
Okay. And what shift were you on? You were on day shift?
I was on day shift, yes, sir.
So
I was on day shift. It was like a little after 6:30 because we stayed here for pass down and all the other good jazz.
Okay. And that was the Sunday before?
Yes, sir. That was the Sunday before Wednesday at Jalisco's.
Okay. All right, then on Wednesday morning,
Mm-hmm.
and how'd it get planned out of how y'all were going to go eat breakfast or go take your meal break?
It wasn't. Officer Wooten showed up for work that day, and he was like, hey, Sergeant Gerloff, he works night shift. He's getting off at this time. He said he'd be through town this time. We're going to go get breakfast. I was like, cool. We already had eaten Jalisco's breakfast already, that prior shift we had. I think it was that Sunday, actually.
Right.
So the breakfast wasn't that great. So I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I had coffee from QT's, and we went, and I sat and I had 2 tacos, and we just kind of had a miniature breakfast there.
Right.
So that's how we got there.
Okay, but there was no contact, or there was...
I didn't reach out to Gerloff for breakfast.
Okay.
No.
Okay. And, but you were there because Wooten...
He
told
invited
you-
me
Wooten
to
invited
breakfast.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, it was nice to see Gerloff too, sir. I hadn't seen him since October, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And when y'all got to the restaurant, did y'all all walk in together, or was
Yeah, we
anybody
walked
there?
in together.
Okay.
We met outside in the parking lot just to wait to see if Gerloff actually showed up. And once he showed up, at first we talked outside for a brief moment because I was like, oh man, you look super skinny. Like I was just astonished at how much weight he lost. So we talked outside briefly, and then we went inside to have breakfast.
Okay. And where'd y'all sit in the restaurant?
That was only my second time being in Jalisco, so it's kind of like in the back, kind of to the left side of the restaurant, but it was kind of in the center. It's the way it's set up. We weren't in the booth, we were right next to the booths.
Okay.
So
Back by the bar area?
kind of, sort of.
Okay. All right. When y'all sat down and started talking, well, on your way in, did you notice if there was any other people in the restaurant?
I just noticed the workers, it was pretty empty from what I remember.
Okay. Anybody in the booths around you?
Not at the time. There was no one in the booth that I remember at the time being in there. I remember later on, a female did come into the restaurant and she sat, like if this is the booth that we were sitting in, she kind of sat like right here.
Okay.
So.
All right. During y'all's conversation, while you're sitting at the table, what was the gist of that? Okay.
It's just the conversations we were having at the table. Like I said, a bunch of catching up. We were doing we were trying to have conversations with Sergeant Gerloff about, hey, are you done with law enforcement? That was one of my questions with him. I was like, hey, are you done with law enforcement? He was like, no, I've been doing it for 13 years. I'd like to continue and get my 20. I was like, cool. Then we started talking about his contract situation where he wants to go overseas for 3 months and try it. He's been talking about that with his wife, and I was like, cool. Then we talked about the situation with Officer Dudley and Officer Brett Fillion with the Michael, the dude that got hit by the train.
Walnuts.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a conversation about him briefly, which struck a conversation with Officer Marco. Like, oh, hey, while you were gone, the most exciting thing happened to me in my career was when he did that unwanted person or whatever that guy was. I wasn't here still on that call, and we had a brief conversation about that, and then we moved back on to him telling us how his boss has fired like 3 or 4 people because they're trying to sleep with his employer. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's go back to your conversation talking about things that have happened and lay that out for me.
Things have happened as far as.
Is there anything, well, first of all, were there any discussions about police administration?
From our end, no.
Policies? Okay.
From my end, let me be specific, from my end, no.
Okay.
So when we were having a conversation with Sergeant Gerloff and he was talking about his situation or whatever he has going on, I specifically told him, Sergeant Gerloff, I don't really want to be involved with it. Whatever you have, I support your survey if it's for morale purposes, but I already have enough going on over here as far as my current situation. And then I got back on my phone.
Okay.
That was it. From my end.
Okay. Any discussions, any comments made by anybody else at the table?
No one in uniform made any disparaging and any negative comments towards any person at this police department.
Okay.
Now, briefly, Sergeant Gerloff, I will say he said some comments. What specifically, I don't remember because, again, that's whatever he has going on with the chief, and which I told him several times, like, hey, that's your business.
Okay.
So no one, for myself and Officer Wooten, we specifically stayed available for calls, and we specifically stayed away from whatever Sergeant Gerloff would teeter into that realm of, like, no, because that, no.
Okay.
It makes no sense to do
You
so.
said nobody in uniform. Well, Marco was there, but not in uniform.
He had his badge, so he didn't, as well, he didn't do any disparaging comments.
Okay.
Again, he was sitting there like this. I was sitting next to him, and he had his stupid hand up in the air the whole time, so I was usually making fun of him for doing that because he's trying to get circulation or whatever. But, no, sir.
So you're positive that nothing was said?
From us in uniform that are employed with the police department.
Well, I mean,
right.
Yeah, from employees.
Right.
Okay. Was there any discussion about the use of a taser or any type of
like I said, we mentioned so when we talked about Walnut's situation, we had a brief conversation about what's the right amount of force and what's taser, because we had a brief conversation with those two officers at the time, never met him before, and we were speaking briefly about how Sergeant Wall had an encounter with him at the Soul Food restaurant here on Main Street, and he grabbed him, right? Him and Bishop had that huge fight with him. So that's what struck Officer Marco. He was like, oh, by the way, I had mine. Like, this is what happened with mine, and he was super excited, and I've heard it a billion times. So again, I tuned into my phone because Marco tells that story and change he gets. So.
Okay. Anything mentioned about administration, or specifically me and or the chief, about either criticizing the use of tasers or encouraging the use of tasers?
If it was from Sergeant Gerloff, and again, I tuned that out. Okay. I can't stress that enough that whatever he had going on, I made it clear to him, I want nothing to do with it, because I already have enough going on. At the time I had Selena, was stressing about that Selena thing about her complaining, and I had my own. So I was like, nope, I don't want nothing to do with that. So.
Right. What about Wooten? Is he saying anything?
No, sir. We were kind of on the same page. We would just look at each other when he would make some comments. We'd be like, so it makes no sense for us as officers who've been here, for me almost 2, going on 2, and Wooten almost hitting a year, to go out in public and say something stupid with just the workers there that I paid attention to, and then the lady that later came on in the restaurant with her dog.
Right.
Makes no sense to do so, especially with Sergeant Gerloff, and I hadn't seen him in 10 months.
Okay, so I'm clear, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so what you're saying is that, did you find it alarming what Gerloff was saying, or?
Not to the point to where I needed to get up and just leave, because, like I said, it was just a brief topic, and then we would switch immediately, because, no, we don't participate. We've never participated in something like that in public. I wouldn't do that here, or if I go to my National Guard over the weekend. Like, it doesn't make any sense to do it. I don't gain anything from it, especially if you guys have been so after October. So it just makes no sense for us to go out and do such. Okay. So.
Well, I don't, maybe alarming wasn't the right word, but disconcerting enough.
I don't remember what he said specifically, but I didn't get up to leave, so I don't think it was to that point to where I needed to get up and leave and be like, oh, no, I don't think it was anything like that.
Did you tell anybody about the conversation afterwards?
As far as the 3 that was at that table? I told Sergeant Wall, well, I didn't tell Sergeant Wall, but we had me, Wooten, and just me and Wooten, really, because Marco went home.
Mm-hmm.
We told Sergeant Wall, like, hey, this is what the conversation was about afterwards.
Where'd that happen at?
But it was just over phone, really, because we left, and I think Wooten called him while we were out there, and then we just started running traffic stops after that. That was it. We just went right to work.
Okay.
Like I said, we left ourselves available and no calls came through, and then afterwards we just started running traffic.
What was Sergeant Wall's advice to y'all?
Well, I can only speak about Sunday, because that's the only time I really talked to Sergeant Wall about it, was
Okay.
Sunday. And he said that he thought a morale survey for the department couldn't be a bad thing if it was...
Okay, but on Wednesday, after the meeting, when y'all...
After breakfast,
talked-
I didn't really speak to Sergeant Wall about it. Like I said, I just went straight to work.
Okay,
Yeah.
y'all didn't meet up anywhere after?
After work, we didn't meet up, and no, we went to work.
Okay.
That was Wednesday. Thursday is when you called us in to meet with Chief.
Yes.
Right. That's when we met up after the Chief's meeting.
Okay.
But that Wednesday, no, we just went straight to work.
Okay. And was it spoken about or discussed any time later in the day?
On Wednesday?
Yeah.
Not that I remember. I can't recall.
Can't recall?
I can't
Or
recall. I don't remember.
should that-
Well, I know I didn't do it. I mean, I went to work, so if anyone else did, I can't speak for them. I didn't do it. It was just a breakfast grill off. Didn't think much of it.
Okay. Okay, but when you did speak with Wall after breakfast, was that by phone?
I didn't speak to him directly. I did not call him. I think Officer Wooten may have called him. I didn't call him directly. Again, I went and started doing traffic stops, sir.
How'd you know about that phone call then?
It was probably in the parking lot. If I remember correctly, it was in the parking lot of the police post after we kind of dispersed.
Okay.
Or Sergeant Gerloff dispersed from us.
I mean, what,
From the gist of the conversation that they had amongst each other, it was just like, hey, this is what we talked about, this is what it was. And that was it. We went to work. I don't know, I think we ran like 30 traffic stops that day. We just went to work.
why do you think Wooten felt compelled to call the supervisor after?
Probably the same reasons I did when I got that text on Sunday. The conversation, like I said, I hadn't talked the girl off. So for him to have this random text message to me and then send the second text message out, I felt the need to tell my supervisor, because it's what we're trained to do. It's like, hey, Sarge, I got this. This is what happened. I met with this person. This is the gist of the conversation. Here you go. That's just the CYA. Like, here's that. There's this. So
Okay.
that was that.
Okay. And back at the restaurant, we're talking about your use of force incidents. Did y'all discuss when Wooten had to take a guy to the ground over on, was it Blue Ridge Parkway or?
The drunk.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that.
It was probably like a 30-second conversation. Hey, my first time having a guy pull away from me was a drunk. His aunt lived right there. He pulled away from me, and I took him to the ground, and I laid on top of him and said, you will not do, or what did he say exactly? You will not, oh, this is not a game, or something like that. It's on the body camera. He just reiterated what he said to do. Mm-hmm. We all laughed and chuckled because I was there on scene and I seen it happen, so I thought it was funny that, because Wooten's so calm and he's just so goofy, so to see him like, it's kind of like, come on, dude.
Right.
So that was the whole conversation with that,
Okay.
right there in itself.
Okay. Was there any discussion about, I wrote his name down, I can't remember, Walnuts?
The dude that got hit by the train.
Fosacia,
I think his name's Matthew.
Yeah.
I want to say it's Matthew.
Matthew
Fusilano.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. We had a brief conversation about him. Again, that's when Dudley and Christian had that interaction with him outside Specs.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, hey, yeah, that was the last time anyone that we know really had to go hands-on with the dude, because we were like, hey, remember the guy that Sergeant Wall, I think Sergeant Gerloff was still here when that happened. Mm-hmm. We're like, hey, remember the dude when blah, blah. We were just having a conversation with Sergeant Gerloff, catching up on everything. And he was like, yeah, I remember him. He was like, oh, well, they recently had to deal with him, and they had to take him to the ground. Dudley was going to tase him, but Christian managed to subdue him. They got him in cuffs, problem solved. Struck up the conversation with Marco. Oh, by the way, I had my situation. So.
Was there any conversation or comments made about its administration was particularly with that incident or the
So when I
critique?
saw the specs,
Yes.
not that I remember.
Okay, not that you remember?
Not
or
that I remember. I honestly don't remember.
Could it have occurred?
It could have, but it couldn't have not. I don't remember, sir.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say yes or no, 'cause I don't remember.
Okay.
I really don't remember. So.
Okay. I'm just trying to balance, what I've, what was allegedly heard by other
I get
people.
it, but I honestly don't. I don't remember. So I don't want to say yes. No, I don't. I truly don't remember. So
Okay.
if that was said, or if any of that was said, then I don't remember. And if it was, I don't think it was anything negative.
Okay.
But I don't remember if anything was said. So.
Okay. Nothing to the extent of, they don't want us to tase anybody before, but now they want us to tase everybody.
I don't remember. The fact that you say that, I don't remember.
Something along that line.
Yeah, I don't remember that being said. I don't remember. Truly, I don't remember.
Okay. All right. On Thursday, after y'all got called in, and
This is like cutting off my circulation. The key in my pocket, the Tahoe key, bigger than the other keys.
after getting called in by the chief, what happened after that?
So we left out. Sergeant Wall was the last one to leave out the office because he thought that Chief wanted him to stay, whatever. As we were walking outside the back of the police department, Sergeant Wall was like, hey, let's meet over there where Marco stays behind HEB. I was like, cool. As we were going over there, that's when I think you radioed me and Wooten to come back.
Right.
So while you were radioing me and Wooten to come back, Sergeant Wall had asked me to call Marco and say, hey, Marco, this is what's going on. Meet us in your subdivision. But you radioed us to come back. So that's when me and Wooten came back to meet with you in your office.
Okay.
And then after your office is when we went back to talk briefly about, hey, Marco, this is what's going on. It's something about the breakfast. We don't really know much about it other than this is what Chief said. And then we all dispersed. It was like maybe 4 or 5 minutes.
How'd y'all, what made y'all decide to go to Marco's house?
Just to talk, that's where he was. He was on his pain meds because of his thumb. That's why he went home that day. So we felt the need to go and tell him, like, hey, Marco, this is what's going on so it doesn't blindside you. This is what just happened to us and while we were called in. And once he knew, he left.
Okay. Was there any discussion on how an explanation to the event was going to be crafted?
No, because like I said, Chief didn't really give us much when we met with him other than I know what's said and I know this is what happened and LTC or Commander knows going to be doing a IA on you and get out of my office. Okay. So we told Marco, hey, we're going to get an IA on this for having breakfast with Sergeant Gerloff. We don't know much about it, but here it is, and we dispersed, and we took off.
Okay. Have you had any discussions with any of your coworkers about this that
No.
were involved in it? Anybody else?
No.
Since then?
No. Not since you had assigned the DNA. No.
Okay. How about before?
No, because that was the same day on Thursday.
Yeah.
And the only people at work were us three. So,
okay.
No.
Has anybody approached you?
So yesterday people had questions while we weren't at the meeting, and I told them I could not discuss.
Okay.
And that was it.
Okay.
And that was in the parking lot. So once everyone came back and we were here clearly for a duty, they were like, hey, why are you guys? I can't. And so that was it. That was it.
Okay. I don't have any more questions about that specifically, or about that event. But I do want to talk to you about the photograph.
Okay. Maya? Oh, this is not it. Oh.
So what is the context of that?
So this is the shooting that happened at the apartment complex in Austin recently. The gentleman that got hit with the non-lethal shotgun first, or rifle, whatever he got hit with, and then he tried to drive off, and it was a one-shot, one-kill. Well, this was a joke, right? Because in the Army we say one shot, one kill if you have a master sergeant. That's all this is. He made the comment, whatever, Sergeant Gerloff, and then that's why there's this and the zip face. That's all there was, sir, to that. It wasn't this disparaging to anybody here in the police department, or it wasn't anything negative. It was literally, he shot one shot, and the dude was, that was the end of the situation.
Why do you have Master Corporal in quotation marks?
Because of the rank.
Okay. Who are you referring to in that?
It's just the rank, sir. It's just the rank. It's not a shot at anybody specifically. It's just the rank. That's it.
But you have it in quotation marks.
Right. It's just the rank. Everything else doesn't need to be in quotation marks because it's just leading up to, hey, this is a Master Corporal, and if you have one, it only takes that one shot, i.e. this situation, and it's resolved.
Okay. Were you referring to Sergeant Coffey in his
No, I hadn't
former
met
rank
him.
as a Master Corporal at the Austin Police Department?
I hadn't met him at the time. At this time, I hadn't met him. I've never formally met him during this. I just knew he started working here. I hadn't met the guy, so no. I don't talk about people I haven't met, so.
Okay.
Like I said, it was just in regards to this. Big dude shot one shot, and the situation was done. It didn't take all 30 officers out there to shoot all the rounds they had. It literally took one shot. So, obviously, it was just like a little joke.
Then how do you get that context of the conversation based upon Gerloff's comment?
Because he said it was a bad shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, it was one shot. My mind's weird, sir, so bear with me. He said it bad shot, and I'm like, no, it only took one.
Okay.
That led to my comment. So that was the end of that. And even still, I didn't comment after that either. I was just like, no, it's just one shot. It wasn't bad. It was just a one shot.
Mm-hmm.
Pow. Problem solved.
Okay.
So,
and you can say almost just about anything you want to on social media.
it can be taken, yeah.
However, what I'm getting at is what you're telling me that is in no way directed at EPD employee,
No.
Sergeant John
He's
Coffey.
a great guy. After I've met him since then, he's a great dude. He just asked me just a minute ago, was I going to the range? But I can't because I got my kid this weekend, so
Okay.
he's a great dude.
And it's not related to his former position as a range master or instructor at APD
No.
because of an APD shooting at Gerloff.
No.
Do you see how the perception is that
I
it
do.
does?
I do, sir. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But that, no. He's a great dude. He's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. So, like I said, when I met him recently, dude's been nice. He's always smiling. He's kind of like an older version of Wooten. He's always just smiling. Like, it's like, okay, cool. So,
When did you post that?
oh, I don't remember. Whenever this incident happened, I don't remember specifically, but I remember
It's been a
seeing it.
while.
Yeah, it was a news article on Facebook, and I read it, and I just reposted it. I didn't think he would comment, but because I usually post things like this on my Facebook anyway, anything that involves officers in general, good or bad, I usually post it just because I like to read the articles and I like to keep other people aware. Like my hometown, Cleveland, 3 murders in the last 2 months. So I think if you check Facebook now, it's just like those posts, and I always post stuff like that. That's it. It's usually cooking stuff too, so
Okay.
if you want to learn how to cook some good stuff, it's on there.
Okay. You've been completely truthful in all your answers to
Yes,
the
sir.
questions today. You answered each question that I've asked you fully and completely.
Yes, sir.
All right. This concludes the interview. It is 11 minutes after the hour. I'd say at 5:36 p.m. All right.
I didn't go 41 when I got here. I didn't let her know I was available, but I did clock in. I figured we'd be done before 6, so I didn't need to.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Just clock on. Yeah, you can keep that.
Okay. You want this, sir? I'm just going to throw it right in.
All right.
I like this thing.
Tyler?
The Dudley, oh man, sir, it's so spacious in there, but the turn radius, because I feel like a little person in there, I'm like, oh. So yesterday I was trying to do my first traffic stop on 95, but I had to turn around with somebody, and I was like turning, I was like, oh, it's like it's going forever. Like I was just turning around forever, as opposed to the Explorers. I was like, oh man, but this thing is nice.
Yes, they are. They are. All right. Good work. If you need anything tonight, y'all home.
Yeah, do you want me to wait to start working until 6, or just go ahead?
Go get yourself ready to go.
Okay. You wanted me to hear outside, sir?
You are on
No, I did.
the same day.
Okay.